Okay, awesome, Heather. Good morning. Great to see everyone. Let's jump into it. There's actually, to be honest, there's an idea that I really wanted to share in this sefer that I have called Das Torah, but unfortunately, my sefer Das Torah was stolen, along with my car. So I don't have that or my car anymore. But I'm more upset about the sefer, about the book, because I can't replace that because I had lots of notes inside of there. The car, whatever happens, happens. They'll pay me enough to buy a scooter when they can't find it. Okay, so we're going to pivot a little bit, but maybe draw a little on that idea as well. I sent out the title to this. I don't even know the song. I think, Mom, correct me if I'm wrong, you used to sometimes mention this line, or maybe it was my in-laws mentioned the line. I don't know the song, but he's not heavy, he's my brother. Right? Which obviously the idea, I think it goes way back, the Hollies, something about the 40s, the 50s. After we're all finished, the recording's off. If you want to sing it for everyone, it looks like Sarah knows the song, maybe, right? Whatever the song is, the simple context is that when something is your brother, right? When something is close to you, then it's not heavy. It's not a burden, right? To carry something and schlep something which is just useless or you don't like is a schlep. When you're carrying something like, using the example of, Lego, if somebody has to haul a bunch of Lego to somebody for someone else to whatever, they're like, this is a schlep. If a kid gets this whole pile of Lego and it's massive, they're just so happy they have this stuff. They don't care. It's not heavy. It's my Lego, right? Very often what something is dependent on how we perceive it. So nothing to do with bearing the load. There's actually a phrase in this week's Parsha, which is very similar, where it says, Hatzileni na, please Hashem save me. The Yaakov's about to encounter Esav. He says, Miyad achi, from the hands of my brother, Miyad Esav, from the hands of Esav. Right? It has both of these aspects. It says, save me from the hands of my brother, from the hands of Esav. All the commentaries ask, right? Why don't you just say, save me from my brother? He only has one brother. Or save me from Esav. There's only one Esav character that we know of, right? The principle always in Torah is, as we've spoken before, if you can shave it down by a word or two words or three words, the Torah wouldn't have put it in there. It's not a poetry. It's not trying to wax poetic. If it could have said Hatzileni na, please save me miyad Esav, from the hands of Esav, we would have known what it meant. We wouldn't have lost anything from the text. Or if it would have said miyad achi, from the hands of my brother, knowing the context, we would have known exactly what was going on. And therefore, to have both of those descriptions means the Torah is trying to tell us something. And I think in today's day and age, it's a pshat. There's an explanation which is so relevant to how I think Jews around the world are feeling during this time period. See, there's two types of people that we face, right? Hatzileni na, Yaakov saying, I want you to save me. And again, Yaakov's writing this as part of what's called Maisa Avos L'Siman Labanim, what happened to our forefathers and foremothers, our precursors, are prophetic to what will happen for history to the Jewish people. So it's not just Yaakov's battle, it's the Jewish people's battle. And we're always saying, Hashem, save me miyad achi, from the hands of my brother miyad Esav. So the Beis Halevi explains as follows. He said, we face two enemies. There's the enemy that we know, and there's the enemy that we don't know. Right? So if somebody says, hey, you got to save us from Esav, you'd be like, I get it. Esav's a bad guy, and we need protection against bad guys. But along comes the Torah and says, actually, Hatzileni na miyad achi, maybe save me from the people that are my brothers, or that present themselves as my brothers, who seem to say, hey, don't worry, your values, they're my values, we're all in the exact same boat, we're friends, we've got the same thing. Right. And very often, I think part of what happened with the shakeup, 15 months ago, is people who thought were there for us, were always by our side. I just this week again, I was speaking to a doctor. I'm sure a lot of you saw this, this sort of what's it called? Like a briefing, not a briefing, but sort of the description of what's going on in the medical field for Jewish doctors. So I was speaking to one of them about it over a Shabbos dinner that we had. He said, yeah, after October 7th, he said, I got like two calls from friends of mine. I had tons of friends in the system. We were all together for like the medical school or through our internship, whatever it was. But along comes this moment, and the people that were achi, that were my brothers, I'm all of a sudden now looking online and seeing what they're posting, or their absence, their silence, or the comments that they're saying that I catch around the side. And I didn't think I had anything to worry in my safe sort of, circle of these are my brothers and sisters where I live. And therefore, the Torah is telling us that what we have to realize is that there's always two fronts that are happening. There's the front of the obvious enemy that's there, and then there's the front of the one that happens to present itself like we're there for your values, but then unfortunately might not be. What's interesting is the Beis Halevi points out, he says, which one does it say first? It says, Miyad Achi, from the hands of my brother, Miyad Esav. It says, which is the harder one to defend against? If you know and you identify who the enemy is, okay, so you build your borders, you do your things, you understand what has to happen, and you can fight that battle because it's identifiable. When it's your Achi, you're not even thinking that there's a battle going on. You don't even pay attention to the fact that what's happening on the groundwork with, students across campus or professors across whatever. These are just people with the high level of, of morals and values, and they're progressive in terms of the way they think. And we think of ourselves as our values. We think, wait, that should be the safe one. But ironically, and not so ironically these days, it says, wait, Hatzileni Nias, save me not from just Esav, but from my brothers, from the realization of things that around me might not be there. But I want to take it to a more, shall we say, personal level as well. The Torah always operates on a level of storyline, right? Which then applies on a national level, but always applies also on a personal level. I'll give you an example. There was actually, last Sunday, there was a briefing the Federation had, as some of you might know, for security. And when I had the opportunity to open up, I had mentioned that, the Torah has the pasuk rather of Shoftim v'Shotrim Titen Lecha B'chol Sharecha. One has to put, right, soldiers, and one has to put policemen and law enforcement at all your gates, right? On the physical level, what that means is we as Jews believe in protection. You've got to be able to have that. The deeper commentaries say, and I apologize if I might have shared this before, but I just want to give I don't know if I have, but to give an example of what we're about to say. The deeper commentaries say, no, no, no. It's not talking about just the national side. It's also talking about the personal side. That a person has to put judgment and watch guards around B'chol Sharecha, all their gates. What's a person's gates? Person's gates are their mouth, are their ears, are their eyes, right? A person has to put gates for themselves to be a check and balance. Am I saying the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? Am I looking at things the right way? Looking at people the right way? Am I listening to good things or not good things? We have to be our own. On the personal level, that applies. On the national level, it applies. You have to have like policemen and law enforcement. On the personal side, a person has to, on their own self, have these types of checks and balances. So that model always exists in Torah. There's the storyline, the national application, and more importantly, because it daily applies to us, the personal application. There's only so many times I go to the gala for the chief police, but every single day I have to go ahead and be a watchman on how I behave in this world. So along come the commentaries, and they say when it says Hatzileni miyad achi miyad Esav, Hashem save me from my brother and from Esav, it says internally we struggle. We all have Yetzer Haras. That's the way we're designed, right? Because we've got a nefesh elokis, we've got a godly soul, and we've got a nefesh bahamis. We've got a physical side, a physical soul to us. And there's always that struggle that's going on. So along comes the Torah and tells us what? Hatzileni na, Hashem, you got to save me. Save me from who? Help me. Miyad Esav means that voice that tries to get me to do things which I know are wrong, right? So there's certain things which you don't need to go ask a question to your friend or to your rabbi or to your mentor. Is this good for me or is it not good for me? Because it's clearly shouting, this is horrible. So you say, Hashem, just give me the strength to fight the things that I know are horrible, to not look at the things I shouldn't look at, not say the things I shouldn't say, and not do the things I shouldn't do because they're not good for me, for others, for my soul, whatever it is. Hatzileni miyad Esav. But the first one it says, Hatzileni miyad Achi. But also save me from my brother. What does that mean? Sometimes our internal voice says, come on, you're like, that's not good for you. I'm trying to look out for you. Like, what are you going to go ahead and do that? Like, you really want to take on something new? Like, come on, it's going to destroy you. Let's, like, try. You're not that crazy fanatic person, right? Just like, yeah, do what you got to do. I'm looking out for you. We've got a voice often that comes to us as our best friend, which masks itself as being someone who cares about our growth and about our goodness and our spiritual development by saying, don't do certain things, right? And that's the one that's a harder challenge to do, to decipher when it's somebody that comes at us with a sense of this is horrible. We know this even within the context, if we take it with friendships. Some friends are friends that we know, okay, those are not good friends for me. Other times we sometimes look around and say, you know what, like the circle that I'm involved in, not that I have to drop them, but like they're not actually encouraging the best out of me, right? They're sitting there, and yes, they're my friends, but anytime I want to sort of like, do more or grow or develop, they're the ones that kind of hold me back in the name of friendship, right? Hey, what do you want to do that for? And you don't want to be like that. And come on, we've got something good going, right? We've always got to be careful between these two sides that are happening on the global level of what's really our friend and what's not, on the personal level, what really is good for me and what's not. And therefore, later on, when Yaakov's having his fight, right, and this is the part in my sefer that's somewhere in Japan by now or something with my car, right? Ultimately, when he's sitting there, it says, Vayivasar Yaakov Levado. Yaakov engages with the angel and fights Levado by himself. It says a person's got to be strong in their own self. Right? To take on the battle of anything, you don't rely on my enemies to make me strong, right? That shouldn't be the reason why I have strength. You don't sit there and rely on the environment to define what really do I think is okay. A person spends a little time called like in his bodidus, alone, thought with their own minds to be able to clarify what really is important, what really is good. Is this thought pattern I'm having really something that's going to help me? And that struggle and that battle is not a battle that is just starting now in 2024. It's the battle that's laid out already by Yaakov when he's about to engage in this battle, where the Torah says you've always got to look at both of these fronts. And I think that especially in the times that we're in right now, where we're reassessing all these different types of relationships, doesn't mean obviously that Yaakov was with his family, he was enjoying his life, he was doing his thing. But at nighttime, when he was engaging in battle, when those moments of darkness and a person's trying to figure out what really should and shouldn't I do, that's where a person has to be able to have those glasses on to be able to identify what really am I surrounded by, what's seen as the obvious enemy of thought, and what more importantly seems to be more covert. I thought that we were friends. I thought what you were trying to do is help me. And we know this, even if you take a sense of, God forbid, an addiction a person has, right? An addiction that a person has very often, not always, starts from a person says, oh, but you know what, this, alcohol, it will help me just deal with what's happening over there. It's the bottle's my friend. It's what allows me to go ahead and weather the storms and the challenges. And the voice even presents in the sense of, hey, listen, this is going to help you get through it, realizing that, wait, what I think is helping me is actually creating a much bigger problem. And this happens in so many different areas of life. And therefore, the best way to approach that is Vayivasar Yaakov Levado. When a person's alone and really thinks clearly and understands and assesses, then they can engage in what's around them, see what's really enemy, what's really friend, or what's really truly a friend towards a person's growth as well. We'll discuss a little bit more maybe next week as we go into Hanukkah. One idea of, that thought of, maybe I'm being a little bit too fanatic, a little too crazy. I don't want to be super Jew. I think we now have this understanding there's something burning inside of us about, hey, maybe it is okay or even better or feels great to be like on fire as Jews. We'll discuss that a little bit more for Hanukkah next week. But on that note, wishing everyone an awesome Shabbos and great to see everyone. We're going to pause that.
Thanks, Rabbi. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Sorry.